Buying technology made in China, good or bad? In today's video, we'll answer 3 questions about whether buying technology made in China is good or bad. Those 3 questions are Chinese products bad, cheap, easily broken? Are there classes of manufacturing within China? And how do I buy one of the higher quality items? Well, before we get started, don't forget to subscribe. That's the way you thank us for all the hard work of making these videos. There are 3 distinct classes of manufacturing in China. Although seldom spoke of, they truly exist. The first would be made in China, just regular stuff. That's anything from the mom and pop manufacturing all the way up to large factories and manufacturing. Unfortunately, there's little regulation and even less quality control. Therefore, these products have a tendency to be called dangerous and poorly made. The second quality or level of quality would be Class A. Class A would be described as something that is made specifically for export to the U.S. or some other Western country. Some country like Japan or Europe or Korea. Any of those developed countries would be something that falls into the A class category. Also along the way with that comes ISO certification. ISO stands for International Standards Organization, and what they do is they describe in detail how to do something specifically. Inventory management, quality control, quality assurance, management, all those things. If all those things are done in a standardized way throughout the world, you can begin to see a standardized level of quality. And so items in the Class A manufacturing tend to be members of the ISO fabrication system. The third item or third level of manufacturing would be A quality plus specifications. That means all that A has to offer, the company providing the best possible quality assurance they have, ISO certified, company following those international rules which control everything from inventory management, production and storage up to quality assurance testing, a standardized version of that. And then the manufacturer themselves giving specific quantifiable goals. An example of that might be Apple going over to China to manufacture cell phones. An example such as Apple goes over to China and Apple says, I'd like you to manufacture phones for me. And so what Apple does is they go to the manufacturer who is going to do the assembly. They also go to the manufacturer who is going to provide the ICs, the integrated circuits, the chips, the brains for the phone. And they go to all the other manufacturers along the line and they tell them, we're going to have a meeting and we're all going to meet in the same room at the same time and discuss what we want. And so they'll say to the people who actually assemble all the parts and put them in a phone, this is what I expect from you. I expect 100% functionality. 100% of the time when you press that button, that cell phone needs to come on and function. If it fails one time, I don't want you to try and repair it. I want you to throw it away and get a brand new phone off the line. Then Apple would say to the chip manufacturer, from you, I expect 99% functionality on a chip, and I expect it not to stop or to be 100% functional with reference to the cell phone starting 100% of the time. What I mean by that is 100% of the time when the phone's on button is pressed, the phone starts. But sometimes on a chip, on an integrated circuit, maybe 99% of it is functioning and 1% is not. And the results might be you turn the phone on and there's a little dark spot on the screen. The phone is still functioning, you can still use it, you can see everything else on the phone, but you have that spot, and that's not perfect. The manufacturers of chips often use humans to carry out that process, and we all know people are not perfect. They make mistakes, and that's why Apple would give them maybe a 99% expected success rate. That 1%, how does that work? Let's say you turn on the phone and you get that spot on the screen. And then you turn the phone off. And then you turn the phone on again. And this time the spot is not there. Let's say you conduct that test 5 times. 1 time you see the spot. 4 times you don't see the spot. What you have is an 80% success rate with a 20% failure rate. And according to the specifications that Apple set, that's unacceptable, so you cannot use that chip. Don't try to repair that chip, throw that chip away, and use a brand new one. So when the chip manufacturer gets an order for 100 chips, he should probably be manufacturing 130 of them, so that when one chip fails, they throw that out and they pick up the next chip. That gives them a 30% margin of getting it right. If 30% fail, they have an issue with quality control and they need to deal with that. But with this 30% buffer, they can confidently know that they'll have exactly what Apple has requested. You might be asking, what happens to that 30% that fail, or those that fail? The manufacturer might sell that. How can he sell it? When Apple comes into negotiation, they're going to say, I know that you can produce this chip and sell it to others for $15. We're going to give you $35 each, but we expect a 99% success rate with a 100% total system boot to be correct. Those are very high specifics, but that's why we're paying so much. And so when that manufacturer gets a chip and phone that doesn't meet those requirements, he can sell that. Probably shouldn't sell it. There are probably rules in the contract against him selling. But the reality is, he'll sell that. Who will he sell it to? If it costs $15 to make that chip, chances are they were able to make that chip for $5 and sell it for $15, netting a $10 profit. If they take that same $5 chip and sell it to Apple for $35, they're netting a $30 profit. So when that chip is bad and they want to sell it, they don't want to take a loss for it because they got lots of them, hundreds of them, probably thousands of them. They go to people that are clone makers, or people that copy Apple phones and put a different name on them, or even pretend they're Apple. And they sell those, and so they go to those people and they say, we have some chips for you. We know you usually pay $15 for this chip. We're going to give it to you for $10 if you buy them in bulk. And so that company buys them in bulk. They buy all the chips that the manufacturer has. It's a great quality chip because it's probably 98, 97, 96% functional, successful. Apple might be expecting 99%, but 96, 95% is actually very good. The 99% that Apple expects and gets, that's why they have such a premier product. That's why their product works so well. That's why they can charge $1,000 for a phone. When you buy an Apple, you know it's simple, you know it's functional, you know they back it up. If you go to the Apple Genius store or the Apple Smart store, they're going to back it up. They're going to do anything that's required for a good customer relations. And so they charge additional money for all of that. So the guy on the street who buys this chip to clone, he got a pretty good chip. He's got a pretty good product, and he goes ahead and he makes sometimes a clone phone of an Apple. I've seen them. Some of them are very good. They're like $300-400. They look just like an Apple. They come in a box. They have all the parts. Looks just like an Apple. If you didn't know, you couldn't tell. And sometimes it's an even cheaper manufacturer or producer, and he sells a phone that is Apple-like, and people still buy those. Why? Because they can get a phone that normally costs $1,000, but they can get it for $400. They got 60% off, a 60% discount. And I'm afraid when you offer some people a 60% discount, they'll take that phone, regardless of the fact if it is Apple or not, if it's a clone or not. Who manufactures in China? The list is endless. There's so many companies, I couldn't even begin to name them. But I've got a few for you, just so you can have an idea of what kind of quality actually does come out of China. That would be Apple. We already know what kind of product they produce. That could be Mattel. As a kid, which one of us didn't own a Mattel toy? Great quality products, good price, sturdy, well made. There could be Lenovo. Lenovo, you might not know because that's actually that's actually a Chinese firm. But what Lenovo did do was buy the personal computing line from IBM. As an American, we all know IBM. We know that IBM dominated the computer market for 50, 60, 70 years. And so when they came out with their personal line of computers, they continued to dominate. They continued to make top-rate products. And they made a laptop called a ThinkPad, the IBM ThinkPad. Excellent laptop, excellent product, excellent price, very sturdy. That became very, very popular. Lenovo came over and said, we would like to buy your line of personal computers. Personal computers are the ones that consumers, you and I use, not necessarily commercial grade, but consumer grade, regular people grade. And IBM said, yes, you can buy our line of personal computers, but we don't want you to mess up our reputation, have people think that we've started to make a less quality product. So this is what we're going to say. We will sell you this, but for the first 3 to 5 years that you have our product, you have to manufacture them exactly like we manufacture them in the U.S. under our standards. And so China agreed, or Lenovo agreed. They came over, they saw how the Americans did it, and then they went back and set up factories in China. The Americans went to China and had a look at the factories and stayed in China and made sure that the quality control and assurance was as it should be, was as it was with IBM. And so China started producing the products. And of course, they did an excellent job. Now the 3 to 5 years are over with, and China is able to produce any way they want to, but Lenovo in China is still producing in the same way, so they're still putting out an excellent product. ThinkPad computer, incredible laptop. Cell phones. Tons of cell phones are made in China. I saw a $10 cell phone in the airport. How could you possibly make a cell phone for $10 and make a profit? That shows you how cheaply things can be manufactured in China. And that phone was junk. I'm sure it was. But China does make some good phones. 3 of which are good mid-range phones, the Huawei, the Xiaomi, and the Oppo. They're not... actually, they're not, or at least 2 of them, are not comparable to the Apple X or Apple 10. But they are good mid-range phones. What I mean is, I have a Huawei, for example. I must have got it about 2 years ago. It came with 6 gigs of RAM when most other phones were offering 3 or 4 gigs. It came with 2 cameras on the rear when most phones were offering 1. It was one of the first phones to offer multiple lenses on the rear. So they were trendsetters. They were ahead of their time. They were ahead of the game. So it's definitely a good product. Anyway, I was able to get that phone for about $300 when a U.S. equivalent would probably be $600 easy. So now back to the 3 questions. Are Chinese products bad, cheaply made, easily broken? Some of them are, but many of them are not. It depends on the level of manufacturing that you acquire when you buy your product. Are there classifications of manufacturing in China? Yes, distinctly there are. There are at least 3. The standard made in China for Chinese consumption. Problem is, little regulation, little quality control. The second would be Class A, things that are being made specifically for export to U.S. or Western countries. The U.S., Japan, South Korea, and a few others. Or if the person who buys wants to go over to China and set up the manufacturing arrangements, then they too can get the Class A product. For those who don't go over to China that aren't in those Western countries, also meant to include Europe in that group, for those who don't go over to China personally, they receive a lower than A quality product, but hopefully better than for consumption in China only. The third product, or third level, is A with specifications. A with specifications is the Apple example I sent you, or I told you about. Apple goes over and tells them specifically what they want. They provide quantifiable tests for quality assurance. Their numbers, it has to match the numbers. If it doesn't match the numbers, it's no good, it's not bought, it's not going to be accepted. Made in China? Should you buy it? Why not? Because they do products like AT&T, Acer, Adidas, and DJI drones, which if you want to buy Chinese manufactured, let the buyer beware. If you like the video, click on the bell notification icon. We try and put out several videos a week and would like you to have access to them as soon as they're available. Thanks for watching Tech Tuesday. We'll see you in the next video.